And now, obviously, we do not have time in this interview to talk about each and every film. that would be a web series on Netflix, maybe.
Inshallah.
So, and I'm sure somebody from Netflix will be watching this. If not Netflix, Amazon Prime, and what are the other OTTs? Eika Chaturvedi, if you're watching this. And you want to get into non-fiction. And anyway, she loves all the
she loves the concept.
Wisdom stuff. So, yeah, hopefully we'll be seeing a web series soon. Could we delve into a few red pills one at a time? So, just to the opposite of hyper learning, or maybe hyper learning in a selective way, probably give slightly more details or dive deeper into a few of the pills one at a time. So which ones you feel like expanding on, we could look at that.
So let me pick up some that are my favorites, right? So the very first one is definitely a forever favorite of mine, because that's how Providence also plays its part. So the first red pill, the first week we were actually doing sleep. And as it turned out, so the trigger for sleep was because we were hearing, and it was a very scary space. We just turned 40 and we were just suddenly receiving news around us of people we had known, our peer group, our batchmates, of people suffering from heart attacks, of people going with lack of sleep, leading very stressed lives. And so sleep was something that has been very precious to us. As it so turned out, in that week, Ariana Huffington was visiting India. So she's, of course, after selling the Huffington Post, she's launched Thrive Global.
Okay.
So she's the Empress of Sleep, and in fact, her book is about sleep as well. As it turned out, we went for a talk by Ariana. We spoke to her about the 52 red pills as a concept. She got very excited about it. So, and you know, the next we know, we were having dinner with Ariana and discussing the whole idea and the concept of sleep with her. Now, of course, like we said, 3-step process. So I went back to my ancient wisdom. Siddharth picked up contemporary knowledge. So Siddharth picked up a lot of stuff from a lot of books that have recently come out on sleep, on what Ariana talks about sleep. And in fact, a book that I highly recommend on sleep is a book called Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker, and why it's so important. My ancient wisdom actually gave us something very interesting. It actually told me about 4 stages of consciousness. So, sleep, the way science defines sleep, is just a time where your body is at rest and your mind is at rest. So, sleep is a state of restfulness. Of course, there is Shakespeare who's written enough about sleep in the context of sleep that knits up the ravels, sleep of care. But the importance of sleep actually gets covered when you look at the 4 stages of consciousness we live at. And the first stage is called the Jagrut Avastha. So the Jagrut is where your body is awake and your mind is awake. So you're completely fully functional. Right now you're Jagrut. Then there's the second stage of sleep, which is called the Supta Avastha. So the Supta Avastha is when you're in absolute deep sleep. Now this, the West calls the NREM stage of sleep. Not the REM, but the NREM stage of sleep. The Supta Avastha is where the mind is completely at rest and the body is completely at rest. You're completely unaware of what's happening around you. The third stage of sleep is called the Swapna Avastha. So the Swapna Avastha is the REM stage of sleep. So you know, when you wake up sometimes and you've just been dreaming the whole night, you wake up very fitfully. It's a very restless sleep. So the Swapna Avastha is where neither the body has rested fully nor has the mind rested fully. Right? And then comes the 4th stage of sleep, of consciousness. This is called the Turiya. So Turiya literally means the 4th. The science, or the Western science as we know it, recognizes this as the alpha state. Now this is the stage at which your body is at absolute rest and the mind is in absolute awareness. Right? There is no panic, there is no fever, there is absolute rest. Right? Now, here's where it got very interesting, because you find that all your science of sleep says that you must sleep for 8 hours. You must.
Right, and I believe there's some debate on that as well.
Yes, but when you read further, you realize that the first 6 hours of sleep are only about resting your superficial brain, the REM brain.
Mhm.
The last 2 hours of your sleep is actually when you clear out and refresh your body and heal your body. That is what the West says.
Oh, okay.
The meditative sciences, where we speak about these 4 states of consciousness, actually tell you that the Turiya Avastha is the state to exist in. So on days when I haven't been able to get enough sleep, frankly, 20 minutes of meditation takes care of almost 12 hours of being refreshed. It's that powerful. The other thing that we found out, which was even more interesting, is, and again this was a combination of both the East and the West, is what sleeping hours do to your body.
Mhm.
So the liver is actually the only self-healing organ of your body, and every 24 hours it heals itself. Now the way our Ayurvedic Dincharya is organized, the 8 praher, the way our hours are divided, the last praher is when you must sleep,
I see. Okay.
so that your liver heals.
I
So
see.
your liver heals typically between 10:30 p.m. and 2:30 a.m. So if you aren't asleep in that time,
Right.
you've actually lost that opportunity for the next 24 hours.
So plenty of young people are not are not going to have very good livers.
So from all of this, there were 3 hacks that emerged from the whole thing on sleep. One is sleep on time.
Mhm.
Very, very, very critical. It's okay if you wake up at 3:30 in the morning. In any case, we advise the whole idea of waking up at the Brahma Muhurat. That's when you're at your peak performance, peak thinking capability, spiritually aligned, very, very alive and awake. So sleeping early is non-negotiable. Detoxing from your devices. Having your devices around you is really dangerous. So try the activity for a week. Put away all your devices in another room when you go off to bed, and detox about an hour before you sleep.
Right.
The third one is do not drink water after sunset. It's as simple as that. Between these 3, it actually ensures good sleep. So Siddharth and I, for instance, we've never had a TV in our bedroom. We struggle with devices, of course, and there's plenty of, let me just say, unhappiness over devices in the room.
Right.
But that's what we picked up from the topic of sleep. We tried it for that week, worked wonders. We had to work hard to send our devices out of the room at night, but really worked wonders. Felt refreshed, recharged, healthier,
Right.
and happier too. So that was sleep for us, week 1.
So, yeah, I think there were plenty of useful tips there. I think ultimately it does help to get the proper knowledge and implement it one day at a time, 1 hour at a time.